Hello, 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 hello. Hi. We're going to talk about Down the Line. Now, thanks to some wonderful people, you can listen to all of the series of Down the Line. You can find it on YouTube, and I highly recommend you listening to it. What is it? We're going to talk about what it is, who was on it, how brilliant it is, and why it doesn't get enough credit. It's better than, I'm going to say it, it's better than 90% of the things that these other the people in it have made, other things that people have made, even though they've all made really great things. This might be my favourite of all of the collective group of people, the things they've made, and we'll talk about the things they have done as well, and that'll kind of show you how much I love this. You can also find out some really amazing behind the scenes stuff on Oxide Ghost's YouTube channel. Michael Cumming, who directed a lot of Brass Eye and a lot of things from the 90s and 2000s comedy wise that were just amazing. Therefore, if you watch his channel and give him a little bit of your time, I'm sure he'll reward you with some more of his amazing videos. We went to see Oxide Ghost, the behind the scenes and all the extra videos from Brass Eye. We went to see that in when he was touring it around the UK, and it was incredibly great, and some of the stuff that was left out is just as good as the stuff that's in. So I'm hoping he'll do that for his Toast of London work. He's already released 2 videos on this on Down the Line, and I'm going to talk to you about it even more, because I reckon I listen to Down the Line at least once a year. It is part of my lexicon. I say, what is point? What is point? Point is point. I say that all the time. When I'm on the phone, I'm like, hello. I'm always like, just the intro to the show. When people talk about working in Canada, I think of Gary Bellamy. We'll get into it. Let's really dig into it, because I could talk about this all day, but I'm going to try and keep this down to a, not too long. I'm not going to keep you too long. So, just stay with me and we'll talk about Down the Line. It's perfect. Okay. It's such a great concept, and you can see how they built the episodes in the Oxide Ghost video, but I'm just going to talk about the content of it. It doesn't feel like comedy at all for the first minute. So first few minutes, when this was made, it was not promoted as from the people who brought you Fast Show or anything like that. It was put on Radio 4 as a phone-in show, and a lot of people, I think, either rang the number. I believe they rang the number and were then like, just to say they knew it was a joke, because there's some recognisable voices in there. Even Harry Enfield pops up in series 2, where he's going, "Shut it!" to his dog, "Shut it!" like I do probably to my dog. No, I do. "Shut it!" Which I always think about whenever my dog's barking. So there's so many things like that. Now the genius of it is you're not watching punchlines and catchphrases, even though there are some catchphrases that just develop over the series. It's a radio phone in, slowly unravelling in real time, and not even unravelling in a kind of like ooh whack whack oops kind of way, because Gary Bellamy is played by Rhys Thomas to my right there. He observes it so perfectly. It's that same inanity yet control that the people on radio, like a Jeremy Vine or someone might have, where they know a little bit about everything but not a lot about very much, just enough to kind of say the just about the right thing to keep things on the rails, but whenever they're kind of tested on it, they kind of the sort of confusion or their understanding kind of drops out, and there's some hilarity in there from that. Also, Rhys Thomas does not know what he's going to get, so it is essentially he is doing that job, and I just think his voice is perfect as Gary Bellamy. He's just kind of like maybe like a less wacky Chris Evans, maybe, I don't know, like wacky. It's hard to describe what he's like. Maybe definitely like a lot of DJs I would have heard in like on Key 103 Manchester, or you might hear on Heart and things like that at the moment. or Capital, maybe something like that. I don't really listen to radio anymore, but I definitely did when I was younger, and this definitely rings true. It's not like the phone-ins you get, but I've heard enough of these phone-ins, like where we used to have a guy called Umberto, and you used to have James Stanage as well. He's not like, Gary Bellamy's not like a shock jock. He does like a little bit of like first-time caller, or love the show, Gary kind of thing. And yeah, it's so good. Rhys Thomas OBE is so good. Everything he makes is great. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the other stuff that he's made. Brian Pern, the end of year shows that he did, the shows that he's done with Martin Kemp. But the Brian Pern stuff is just amazing. And you can look on Rhys Thomas's own YouTube page to find some of those things. Bellamy's People, which is the TV version of this, which is good, but doesn't work as well because it's not a phone in, it's meeting the people from the phone in. Anyway, so it's a fake radio show. It fooled a couple of people, I don't know how many. Now, it was promoted like a phone-in show, so straight away there was a lot of people who were like, oh, we're dumbing down and blah, blah, blah. I don't really know what the clientele of Radio 4 is like, but I know it's not me. So Gary Bellamy's not like a cartoon idiot. He's recognisable. I guess he's like a local radio presenter from 90s, 2000s, but he's not Alan Partridge, where you can tell he's a comedy character as such. There's this fake warmth, fake empathy, sometimes passive aggression, constant sort of confusion, little ego trips about working in Canada and other little bits and pieces, trying to sound deep but actually not really saying anything at all. It's aged so well. In fact, if anything, it makes me sad because the things that they were really concerned about, the issues of the day, are so trifling compared to the issues of now that we're like, oh geez, like, if only it was that as bad as it was then, if that makes sense. It's built around personality types. The cast who ring up are so good. So, people interrupt each other, conversations drift out, callers repeat themselves, jokes hang in silence, there's sudden cut-offs, and it's misunderstanding and fake politeness, awkward attempts to end conversations, people refusing to leave. There is some similarities. I guess the lineage, maybe the day-to-day, I'm Alan Partridge, of course the Fast Show, most of the people involved in the Fast Show. This is created by Charlie Higson and Paul Whitehouse, by the way. Late night 5 Live conversations, maybe people used to listen to. LBC, obviously I'm not from that area, but I'm aware of it. The key is Gary Bellamy, though. I think he's one of the great British creations. He's pathetic, he's not evil, he's just like each caller kind of just undermines him subtly. He's always like, interesting point, when there's nothing. Sometimes he accidentally insults them, sometimes he agrees with things he doesn't really understand, he gets trapped in endless conversations, he doesn't know how to end them. It's not a big character, but it's not so subtle where it's like, where's the humour? It is hilarious all the way through. So let's talk about some of the characters. So there's Khalid, who's like, what's his point? Essentially the whole character. It gets funnier every time. What's his point? The people who ring up and say, I just want to ring up and agree with what the last caller said. What goes, everything. Yeah, just everything that they said is so good. There's Graham Downs, who is a very lonely, overweight gentleman, and played by Paul Whitehouse, and the voices are so great, because even like Charlie Higson, I think, is so good because his northern characters are really, really spot on, and usually there's an element of Paul Whitehouse you can spot in everything, but like even Graham Downs is an interesting one. He's not like a Pearly King kind of thing. The great Felix Dexter, who's passed away, he's often like a very, very posh person who drops the odd bit of like patois in there, which makes it hilarious, or speaks very fast, incomprehensible, just a couple of words. He plays a character called Early D, who is like, you are bad, man, you are bad, to Gary Elton. He's like, am I bad? Felix Dexter is so good in this. The Humphrey Milner, who just goes on and on and on, anecdotes that really don't go anywhere. are great. The military man, there's the character who's always ringing up. He said, you know, the security implications. You know, could just drive a van of explosives into it. It tends to happen all the way through. So let's go through the main character. Do you know what? I'm doing my current rewatch now. I'm listening to series 2. I'm about halfway through, and they are so great. Paul Whitehouse, Charlie Higson, Simon Day. Took some of the characters from here. One of the characters, the gangster character, what's he called? Oh my word, not Leighton, is he? What's he called? Oh, I can't remember what he's called now, but there's like a kind of celebrity gangster Dave Courtney-esque character that he does, which is really, really good. Simon Day is great in this, by the way, so good. Lucy Montgomery is, I think, the MVP. She does so many different accents, so many different characters, and so of it's so surreal. Her chemistry with her husband, Rhys Thomas, is so good in this. They're brilliant together. Really, really good. Felix Dexter, as I said, and there's no weak links. That's why it's so good, I suppose. Amelia Bullmore, who you may remember from Coronation Street, but you also might remember her as in Alan Partridge. She's so good. And later on in Bellamy's People, you meet some of these characters as well. The TV version is funny. It is funny, but the radio version is better because your imagination is doing so much. You just put your headphones on, and it's great to listen to it in the car and just imagine it's like a real phone in. I just absolutely love it. It's something that I think is got a bit of a cult following. I feel like I've never heard one person say to me, I love Down the Line. I've never spoke to anyone about it, but I know once I found it, that was it. I'm listening to this again and again. They did some specials there. I think they did a lockdown special, I think. So it's like, obviously, the little bits that really stand the test of time as well, little parasocial things. He loves the little things like talking about his girlfriend Michaela, pseudo authenticity. He's like, oh, I've travelled, I've been to Canada, and shut it. Just some of the stuff is just broader, funny stuff, but it's so short that it feels like it would fit in it as well. Small talk and boredom and ego and some of the lonely characters and different topics that they come up with. The topics are just usually absolutely pointless, or if they are a highfalutin big topic, then they tend to be then reduced down to something else that he goes off on a tangent about and completely forget about the main reason that they're talking about it. So it doesn't feel manufactured. It actually feels like it's you're overhearing it like in a doctor's surgery or something, and it's weird enough for you to notice the references without thinking that it's a completely like I said before, like a broad comedy. It feels more like it's not like a docu thing, like not like The Office or something like that, because even then you kind of know that it's not. Even when you watch The Office for the first time, it's not reality TV or anything. But I think the thing about Down the Line is it's the sensibilities of the people of a lot of great British comedy geniuses, but without the we must get this catchphrase in. There's not really, some catchphrases develop naturally, of course, but I actually think it stands the test of time better than The Fast Show. I would recommend The Life of Brian Pern, the other Rhys Thomas created show with Simon Day as Brian Pern. That really does comment on music and a certain type of prog musician and the world surrounding them in a brilliant way. All of the Brian Pern stuff is great. The Kemp stuff is okay. I feel like it's a little bit more stretched out. I don't feel like it's as kind of like the material has been crafted as much. I feel like it's a little bit more loose, but the Brian Pern absolutely love, and the Brian Pern music and the music videos and stuff that he does in there is so good. Get Bellamy's People, give it a watch, but I would listen to all 4 plus, I mean, 4 or 5 series of this, plus the lockdown special, the other specials that they did, because it takes you back, and you realise that like mid 2000s was quite a long time ago now, but so in a way there's a quaint element to it, but also some of the stuff that they talk about is, I guess we're coming around to the point where the most offensive people who ring up down the line are actually, some of those are actually quite normal these days, and you would probably get people like these ringing up anyway. It's actually almost been like willed into existence. However, I don't think it's not a political show. If that's what you're thinking, it's not a making some sort of statement on the state of the world. It's just funny. It is just funny, and the range of characters. I think I read that they recorded 70 different calls for each episode and then edit it down and mix it in. So Rhys Thomas would have to sit there, kind of take on board all of these different people ringing through. They would be in the room with him. And I think by the second series, they started having Paul Whitehouse and Charlie Higson kind of just, can you say that bit again? Can you do that bit again? Or it was really tough. I think it was really hard for Rhys Thomas, because there was moments where he'd interrupt like a DJ would, and then the writers or the characters would want to finish the bit that had been written for them, and had to do it again. And I'd imagine that would be quite tricky. But I think he is the unsung hero, really, of this and a lot of great British comedy. And I know that I certainly have been able to find all of these. I did have them all on CD at some point. I don't know what I did with them, but yeah, you can find them all online. Download them while you can, I would say, and then maybe have them on your phone and listen to them like a podcast. And in a lot of ways, this would be a great podcast. If you did Down the Line every week as a podcast, I think it would be so much fun, because a lot of scripted, and this is loosely scripted, but still scripted, a lot of scripted stuff, podcasts, I find really hard to connect with. Don't think there's anything particularly, you just end up going back to the same sort of podcast with people just talking and connecting, which are fine depending on who those people are and what they're talking about. But I can't think of anything that's other than like when Adam and Joe did Song Wars, where it was created. There's a couple of serious ones that have like Surreal, and there was the comedian one recently that I talked about on this channel. But really, it was a comedian and something bad happens, so it's another true crime one. So it tends to be crime based. But I think like BBC missing a trick. They could get these guys to do a half an hour one every week or something, or every couple of weeks. It would be so good. It'd be a lovely compliment to what's going on in the world. Whether people would allow, whether the BBC would allow people to make jokes about current affairs, because it's kind of there's a little bit of a tangent, but it's still a little bit about what's going on in the world, and people can be a bit more sensitive in mainstream media these days about what they think people are going to make, which is really weird as well, because while people are waiting for the BBC to say or do something strange or something that is outrageous that they can complain about, you can turn over to Netflix and hear the most horrific, mean-spirited, nasty, offensive stuff in like a comedy roast or something. So and yes, people probably do complain about that, but like it just goes on deaf ears. And I guess it might be a bit tricky, because maybe there's so much serious stuff going on that you'd have to mention it in the podcast, therefore it wouldn't be as funny. We kind of need just like a period of a bit of stability where not a lot of crazy stuff is happening, just so Gary Bellamy can come back and just guide us through the middle of the road sort of things that were happening at the time. Sometimes it's a bit like the reason it's so well observed is because that's what a bit like local radio, or sometimes Radio 2 and things like that, or Radio 4 even, are a bit like, where maybe not Radio 4, because maybe that's the reason it's even funnier, because Radio 4 is supposed to be a little bit more highbrow, yet Down the Line is nothing but the opposite of that, and he's always kind of saying, well, I'm actually he was kind of espousing the values of Down the Line quite a lot, just so that, to kind of say, how what a great job they're doing, and it's a lot deeper than it looks, kind of thing. But it really isn't. It is very superficial. And sometimes when somebody makes a good point, an actual good point, he doesn't really know how to deal with that, and he just kind of wraps it up quickly. Or if something really disturbing is happening, he'll wrap that up, and you'll think, you need to be contacting the police here or something. Tony Beckton, by the way, is the character Simon Day plays, who's the gangster, which I think is a really, really great. That would be a one that I'd like to see have its own documentary style thing. Is like, it's right for the picking. The sort of the governor, Ray Winston style characters, or the Cray era people, or people who like to pretend they're around the Crays, or the Dave Courtney Lock Stock era. Tony Beckton documentary would be amazing. If it was made by Gary Bellamy, that would be incredible. I would love to see that. And you can just imagine the front of it, because Simon Day looks like that character now. He could have because he's got a bald head, and you could have it all in grey and leather jacket. Tony Beckton talking about in ridiculous detail, some of the horrendous crimes he's done, and how he's completely changed, and then he's able to just like switch. And in fact, I'm sure I watched one where it was like that about somebody, and then he's in a cafe, and then the next thing he's beating the hell out of somebody, and he's like talking about how he's changed. I think that would be absolutely just perfect. I don't know if the Tony Beckton character belongs to Simon Day, or whether it was written for him by Whitehouse and Higson. I don't know. And to say as well, Charlie Higson is so good in this. His characters are so much subtler, and sometimes they go off and on and on and on. It's Python-esque sometimes. The rambling that he does is very Python-esque, and then Paul Whitehouse is not as broad as he is in some of the other stuff, but he is really funny as well. But like I say, they're all great. I was surprised to see that some of those characters, or some of the people, you don't see them do as much comedy, and it's just so good. I was just having a look, and I meant to do this before, for Bellamy's people, if they were all played by this. I know Felix Dexter was in Bellamy's people. Lucy Montgomery is so good in this, by the way. She is just brilliant. So there's 8 episodes of Bellamy's People, and it was, I'm just going to see who directed it. Charlie Higson and Paul Whitehouse, of course. Written by Simon Day, Charlie Higson, Lucy Montgomery, Rhys Thomas, and Paul Whitehouse. So they might all be bringing stuff to the table here, and they're all in the show. Adil Ray is in Bellamy's People as well. You might know Daniel Kaluuya is in it as well. Young Robert Popper, the amazing Robert Popper of Time Waster Diaries, and also the amazing Friday Night Dinners. Who is just Friday Night Dinner. Just another thing that I think is perfectly. Will stand the test of time and is as good as any sitcom that's ever been made in Britain. I will stand behind that. Amelia Bullmore is in it again. It's doesn't quite work in the same way, but I do think, and that's hard to find on DVD now as well. Down the line, that Rhys Thomas started. I think he was looking for work experience and ended up being showing some of his comedy to Charlie Higson, and ended up in the Swiss Tony sketch, and then his career's just gone from strength to strength from that jump off period. I mean, he's about the same age as me. He's won a BAFTA, he's won loads actually. He's doing a thing now called Dodger, which is about the Artful Dodger, which I haven't seen. I think it's a kids show created by Rhys Thomas, and Christopher Eccleston plays Fagin in it, but I've not seen that. He was Paul in the Swiss Tony TV show. He did Fun at the Funeral Parlour, which I never got around to seeing. He's in Nathan Barley, which I think again is worth a revisit. Obviously all the Kemps stuff. He did all the Kemp stuff, All Gold in 2023 and All True in 2020. Let's see. But a year in the life of a year were brilliant. I love those. They're very Charlie Brooker, but around the same time as Charlie Brooker doing these things. A year in the life of the year 2019 and 2018 are brilliant. A lot of people did not get them. They didn't. I don't know how he got to make two of them really. He did 3, 2017 as well. Brian Pern at a tribute. People really like that one. A year in the life of the year 26. Oh, mind me, he did 4 of those. Right, I need to find a year in the life of the year and watch all 4 of those. The Life of Rock with Brian Pern, 10 episodes, incredible. He's always, from Brian Pern onwards, he's always been credited in any comedy stuff as Rhys Thomas OBE, which is hilarious. And of course Bellamy's People, Star Stories, which again I've never watched, which I probably should, and The Fast Show. Yep, and he's done a few characters in Reeves and Mortimer, and most of the stuff that he's written is all brilliant, really, really good. The sketch show Blunder, if you remember that one, he wrote for that, which was and he was in it. David Mitchell, Rhys Thomas, Simon Farnaby, Nina Conti, Tony Way. Don't know if it was a. It didn't kind of take off. I think they only did 7 episodes. It didn't take off as well as some of the others, like Big Train and things like that. But yes, you can find this easily on YouTube. Listen to the first series of Down the Line. Check out Oxide Ghosts. You won't regret it. It's so funny, so clever, but not telling you it's clever all the time. It's just funny, more than clever. So well made. It's a great idea how they did it, how they created this. So I don't want to ruin that by telling you every little detail that I found from the Oxide Ghost channel. So go to Oxide Ghost, check that all out, and yeah. What is point? What is point? Point is point. There's so many things, so many characters from it that I find myself, and I probably not even mention half of them that come up on in my just everyday speech, which must be a delight for people who know me. So thank you so much for chatting with me. Do you remember Down the Line, or are you going to check it out because of this video? Let me know. Let me know what you like, if you like Brian Pern or any of the other things that Rhys Thomas has made. The guy is so good and so underrated considering he wins things. He's always pretty successful. And yeah, he's great. And the unsung hero of this, Lucy Montgomery, who's just out of this world, so good. She's also in Dodger as well, and of course she's Pepita Sanchez in Brian Pern. So yeah, she's great. I might just go and watch all the Brian Pern stuff. I hope I've still got it. Okay, thank you. I really enjoyed that, and I'll see you down the line. I'll see you soon. Bye.